Okay, let's get into one of the most common questions I get when people find out that we homeschool, and that is, why did we get started? Well, I'll tell you right now, I've always toyed with the thought of homeschooling, and I'll be quite honest, I thought it was much easier. But today I'm going to be completely just transparent with you, sharing our journey of homeschooling, sharing with you what has worked and what has been a challenge. And on the days where I want to give up, how have we continued to keep going? Because we're in year 5. The biggest questions I often get is, why did you start homeschooling? And why are you still homeschooling? Another one of those questions is, how does my husband fall into the homeschooling decision? But that's for another video. So today I want to actually just have a story time of, how did we even end up here? We have been homeschooling for 5 years, but where we are today is not where we started. And what has kept us going, I've wanted to give up often. I'll be completely honest with you. There have been days where homeschooling does not feel like the best fit for us. So, as I share our journey, I also want to invite you and let you know, whether you're on the fence of homeschooling, you're ready to throw in the towel, or you're somewhere in between where you're getting started, know that it is always okay to pivot and do what is best for your family. It is always okay if things change, if you need to regroup, if you need to reassess, because one of the main reasons why we homeschool, and I'll talk about it more, is because I want to do what makes best sense for my kids and their growth. In this season, it's homeschooling. So let us rewind all the way back to COVID, pandemic. It is the year 2019. We are transitioning from being in Virginia and moving out of state to Georgia. My kids had been in a traditional private school setting all of their lives, from pre-K now to second grade. And I was also teaching. I loved teaching. We're getting ready to move. I'm pregnant with our 4th kid. And I just keep thinking, okay, I just want everyone to settle. I want to make sure that we transition well. We're not going to go into a private school again. My husband and I had agreed that we would go into a public school setting, and felt like that might be a good thing for us. We found an excellent school district, all the things. So we go, we get settled, 2020 hits. My son is in school for less than a month, and then the world shuts down. And I'm trying to navigate everyone at home. Did I mention that I'm pregnant the 4th time? Yeah. So we're just managing, and I'm trying to navigate having him at home, finding a new rhythm and routine. And I'd always been toying around with the potential of us homeschooling. Thankfully, there was a really amazing homeschool community that I got to be a part of while we were out there. But let's not get ahead. So we go ahead and finish the school year. This is second grade for him. All the while, I had noticed for him that there were some skill gaps. They were also identified at the public school, once again, amazing school district. And we were just going to work at how to support him in some of those skills. So after we kind of settle in, the pandemic is happening. There is no school. We even do the drive-through to say goodbye to his teacher for the year. It was a weird time. I went ahead, and instead of like resting and preparing for the 4th baby, I thought, well, I'm actually going to try this homeschool thing. I'm going to try and close these skill gaps for him. I'm going to look at resources. I'm going to see what I can do. And I'm going to start to talk to some other teachers and some other homeschooling moms. Let's see. I actually never intended to homeschool for the time that we've been homeschooling. I really just wanted to help our son close those skill gaps and be really confident in his learning journey. So we start, and I notice that we're getting into a decent rhythm. I notice that he is able to grasp concepts. I also start paying attention that he needs more time. And so We take a couple of months during the summer. I'm working with him. I'm also seeing how some of our other kids are really adjusting well at the fact that we have this kind of rhythm going on in the house where we get to learn, but we still get to play and we still get to spend time safely with other people because it's pandemic season. And I just start going, maybe I could do this for a little bit longer. Maybe I could homeschool him and just take the extra time for his third grade year and see what we do. So I have the conversation with my husband because here's also a factor. Childcare is super expensive. Like, I don't know where you live at, but I have yet to find a location where it's affordable when you have more than 3 kids. So I was not full-time working, I was remotely working. And I just felt like maybe I can kind of process how we can make this happen because we had 2 under 2, and then we had our other 2, which were kind of almost school. One was school age and one was on his way to be school age. So going back, we go ahead and start with this journey. And Mike and I talk, and he goes, well, do you just want to give it a shot? I say, yeah, because this was a temporary solution for us. So we go into the third grade year. And I realized that a lot of some of even the social kind of moments that I had saw for him, and even my other kids started to settle because we had a significant move. And that also was jarring for our family because we'd never moved out of state. And being able to help him navigate and start to grow in some other areas beyond the skill gaps. So that first year, I tried to emulate school and realized that was not working for us. So then I tried to go the other extreme and not have a huge schedule. Also did not work for us. So I was like, I just want to give it another try. So we hit year 2. Year 2, I still see progress. I see us growing with other kids. I see him flourishing in areas and finding other interests that I didn't even know he was interested in. So we hit homeschool year number 2. That is when it started to become a bit of a challenge because my baby then was hitting 1 year old. And what do you do in managing a schedule where you have active elementary school kid, someone that's kind of in between, and then you've got a toddler and an infant? That year was rough for me. That year I cried a lot. That year I felt like I was failing. That year we did way probably more tablet time and more play dates. And I relied on just kind of other parents to help me navigate that, hey, it's going to be okay. And so that year felt like a wash for me. I did not feel like that was the most productive year, even though we did our best at learning. So then I asked our kids, what do you want to do? This is going on year 3. We sit down as a family, and there's a lot of positives, but there were still challenges in our rhythms and in our consistency in schooling. So I had met a couple of moms and even moms online that I started to follow their homeschool journey that looked closer to mine, because there is this spectrum of homeschool where people sometimes look like Pinterest, and then sometimes people look like we're just running in fields and what is everyone learning? Or then there's this kind of group of people that everyone's a genius and we all want our kids to be like that. We're hoping that we're homeschooling IQs that are far beyond our imagination. And I felt like we're not here. We're also not running in fields all day. And we don't look like Pinterest because it looks like a mess most of the day. And I found just a different kind of group of moms that were like, hey, I'm genuinely homeschooling. It is not always easy, but I think that you can do this. And I started to connect myself with them. And several of them were online where I would bounce ideas of what is actually working for you. Hey, I'm trying this. What would you recommend? We're on par here in our learning journey. How could you support? And so when we hit year 3, I actually started to feel like this is possible, because I stopped stressing so much in year 1 of trying to recreate school at home, with a lot of heavy structure and a lot of rules, and you have to be seated, and we have to get dressed every morning, and you can't, you're not really talking because I need to know what work is going on. Then hitting year 2, where I was like, we're all just going to run in fields, and we're all going to live, and we're all going to be fine. And year 3, I realized that I needed to start actually paying attention and doing things that worked for us. That I have kids that do need structure and a schedule, but they also need the freedom to move, the freedom to choose, and they do need accountability. So year 3 started to be a pivotal year for me, where I actually started to pay a lot more attention as in curating and connecting an experience that worked for us. So we go through year 3. There's still bumps in the road. There's days where I'm like, I'm actually not cut out for this. This is a really bad idea. And then I move on and we go, I think we might do middle school. And we had finally moved back here to Virginia. So every state has different homeschool laws and regulations. And here in Virginia, we have to submit not just our notice of intent, but we also have to submit progress, proof of progress. And that year, I buckled down and I had reconnected with some teachers that I knew here in Virginia, and one in particular that had offered to, she's a certified teacher, had offered to do an evaluation of my kids. And my year, like going into 4, that summer ending of year 3, was really important for me because I no longer wanted to go off of what I felt was working. I really wanted to connect with somebody else that could actually tell me objectively, am I doing this well? Is this actually beneficial for my kids? I did that evaluation and it was the most freeing and encouraging thing I could have ever done. Because I no longer was going off of simply just my rubric, my standard, my ability. I really wanted, the investment for me was much more than just we homeschool and I can do this because I'm good at it, which the reality is I'm not that great at it. I try my best, and that is what I pray works really well for my kids. And so after that evaluation, I realized that a lot of those skill gaps were closing, which was incredible. And many of them hadn't just closed, but we were moving towards and excelling beyond the grade level that my kids were in. And another big win was one of my kids that did not like learning at all. Like the first 2 years of learning for him was no learning. At least I didn't think so, because it didn't fit or look like what I perceived learning to be. And when I sat down and we did that assessment, she couldn't believe that he had excelled it from what I thought was not even learning, because he was not only on par for the grade and the age that he would be in, but he was beyond that. And that was a huge year. 4 became a shift and a change for me, but it also shifted how I showed up in homeschool, because I began to really invest in how I understood the opportunity to homeschool my kids and what that experience actually looks like. So year 4, we really did buckle down. I'll talk more about how our schedules are set up. When do we say yes to some things? When are we flexible? And how does that work well within our home? So you're probably thinking, did I not take those first years seriously? No, I really did. I thought that I was doing the absolute right thing in what I perceived to be homeschooling. Well, joke was on me because homeschooling was nothing what I thought it was, because I wasn't paying attention to how it actually needed to be for my family. I was homeschooling with the idea of what I saw was working for other people. and not paying attention to the fact that I needed to figure out what worked best for us. For us, it is schedules. For us, it is flexibility some days. And for us, sometimes it is slowing down to the point where I focus more on mastering and understanding a concept than I do just trying to get through it. So are my kids, what could I say? Are my kids on grade level, you may ask? They're actually ahead. And it's because I realized that for them, I have to slow down. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I started homeschooling. I realized that I couldn't rush through things. And I also couldn't imitate other people. So if you have been feeling like I'm over this homeschooling or I'm really nervous to pull the trigger on it, I can tell you right now, you always have an opportunity to make adjustments, to change your mind, and to pivot at what works best for you. For us, we homeschool because it gives us the freedom of time. It gives the less of being rushed into what learning can be. And it also has given my kids the confidence in areas, in skill sets that sometimes in another setting were overlooked, because it allows us to praise great character and integrity and be patient a little bit more about math. It allows me to praise being able to work well with other people or be able to be observant and notice things. And it also allows me to be able to challenge, can you work through this math problem when we're at Target? And it's a very cool journey. It has its challenges. It has its moments. But I've really glad that we've stuck it out. I'm actually really thankful that we have not quit. And I wouldn't even call it quitting, because the opportunity is always still open for our kids, that if homeschooling is not working in the way that they have enjoyed it or they see it working for them, that other schooling options are available. So to answer your question, we homeschool because it works for us. We don't homeschool because we dislike public school or we can't stand private school or I have an issue with everybody. We homeschool because it makes sense for us. Why do you homeschool? And if you are thinking about homeschooling, what have you seen in your children or in your home life that would cause you to consider that? I'd love for you to share in the comments. And I can't wait to see you again.